I mean, dude, you're way far ahead of me. I'm still trying to win this division. We still got a chance, so hopefully we'll be hosting. Yeah, but we still got a chance for another spot. Just winning the division, yeah. Okay, what? You don't believe it?
Well, because the Tigers
Have the what?
have the winning record against you guys, you're like 4 games back. So yeah, I have my doubts that you're going to do that, but
I love that. I love that you have your doubts. I love doubters. I've dealt with that my entire career.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Caswell. That is the dapper Bob Scanlan. We are brought to you by the all-new Humble Casino Resort, the Players Place. Bob Scanlan. That was Manny Machado on Monday before the Padres clinched a postseason berth, before what happened yesterday with the Dodgers figuring something out despite their disastrous bullpen, and the Cubs, of course, beating the Mets. How are you today? Let's start there. Let's something positive.
Marty, I'm doing great, thanks. And that clip right there by Manny just made my day even better. I love Manny. I love his optimism. I love that he loves the doubters. Yeah. He's the best. So, yeah, you as a Padre, you're looking at it and saying not what is not possible, but what is possible. And still at that point, possibilities of taking the division, possibilities of taking that top wild card spot, which would be huge for the Padres, right? To be able to play at home. We know what a home field advantage it's been for the Padres the last few years. So not a small topic. And unfortunately, things did not go the Padres' way yesterday with the loss, of course, and also the Dodgers figuring out a way to win, as you described. So interesting times. It's been a lot of fun, hasn't it been, Marty? I lost you.
I'm sorry, Bob. I am so sorry. I'm not sure where I went. I apologize. You're right.
You vanished.
Things did not go well yesterday with the loss. But I think the one thing, actually, it was a terrible day. It's a terrible day. Let's start with the question that you asked, Bob, that you asked Mike Shildt yesterday, and that's, of course, Ramon Laureano. And I thought Mike Shildt's body language in postgame kind of said it all about the fractured finger. How crushing is it to lose one of your best players right as you're heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, anytime, and all the teams are going through this, right? We've seen teams losing pitchers, position players, whatever it may be. And things happen this time of year. It's not like you can put guys in a glass bubble and just say, okay, you're not going to play. You've got to get guys out there and playing, and things are going to happen. This is what, this is baseball. Stuff goes on, and they're all going to face adversity. But certainly this is a punch to the gut for the Padres. Ramon has been fantastic in so many ways on both sides of the ball. He's done a great job defensively in left field. They've put him in center field when they needed him, when Jackson was down, excuse me. So this is certainly a setback, and no certain time and when he's going to come back either. That's the other question mark about it, right, Marty? Got a broken finger. It takes time to heal. Obviously, some of it is pain related. How much pain can you put up with? But this is a guy that's been an important part of their offense. Has he been hitting the ball well lately? No, he'd been in a little bit of a slump, but that's not to say that couldn't turn around. And we know when postseason hits, right, Marty, anything can happen. It's a fresh sheet. So it's a big blow. The good news for the Padres is they were able to survive without Ramon Laureano previously. They had Gavin Sheets out in left field. He did a very nice job out there. Unfortunately, Gavin's not swinging the bat real well right now either. So that's not the easy, hey, we got the solution, put Gavin out in the left on a daily basis, because he's trying to figure himself out with the bat right now. But Bryce Johnson is your defensive substitute. If that's where you want your focus to be. And I think Mike Shildt and the Padres are going to have to figure out, okay, on which days is it going to be more important to have that defensive presence out in left field? Okay. Which days might it be more important to try to get the offense going? And let's face it, Bryce Johnson's been hitting 368 since September 1st. Now, does that survive in a postseason situation, on a nightly basis? I don't know. It remains to be seen, but it's an interesting decision the Padres are going to have to make. Excuse me. Give me 1 second.
No, please.
I'm still trying to get my voice back from the post-game celebration, talking to all the guys and yelling over that music. And
you're not just talking; you're screaming over the guys, right? You have the top of your lungs to go ahead and make sure. What? What did you say? What did you say? Go ahead, Bob.
I apologize, but Yeah, so they do have a couple of options that they can
Okay.
go with out there, and it'll be interesting to see how they balance that all out.
How difficult a place, okay, for Gavin Sheets, right? And I know he really worked hard on his defense out there in left field, right?
No
But
doubt.
how hard a place is it for a left fielder to play at Wrigley Field? How much of a challenge is that going to be if they end up starting him, because you need your bats in there?
Well, no, actually, it's less of a challenge because it's not one of the
Okay.
bigger ballparks. There's no real weird angles other than obviously in the corner, you don't have any foul territory over there. The basket is the basket. It is what it is. There should still be IV on the wall. That's going to be a factor for anybody in terms of, playing stuff off that wall and you find the ball in the ivy and all that kind of stuff. But as far as weird angles go,
Yeah.
not an issue. As far as it being a massive amount of space that he needs to cover, not an issue. So if anything, I would think it might be a best case scenario for that.
How do you think the Padres could look to replace him roster spot? And I know that in the UT wrote about the idea of Luis Campusano, and that would floor me if it were him, because I thought they were done with Luis Campusano. I mean, they had a chance to go ahead and call him up, when they expanded the rosters, they didn't do it. It just seems like there's been a bit of a lack of trust on both sides. I would be shocked if it were Campusano, but what other options do they have at this point? What are their best options?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I don't know who they've been having working out. I think Tyler Wade is still in the organization, so he's a possibility also. I think he's been staying in shape and working out. To your point, Luis Campusano had one of the best last months of minor league baseball that you can have. He dominated at the plate in every way. And so kind of to your point, given the numbers that he had put up in AAA offensively that last month, and it still wasn't enough impetus for them to call him back up. That being said, they were happy with the catching situation as it was, and and maybe they just felt like it was better for Luis to continue to get those plate appearances down in AAA as opposed to calling him up to the big leagues and really not getting a chance to hit. So now what have you done? You've called up a hot guy. He's sitting on the bench because Freddie Fermin's getting the job done. Diaz is going to be catching with Pivetta. So who knows? We don't know all the factors that go into those decisions. But to your point, that's certainly an option, and we'll be curious to see what they end up doing.
Let's start. Let's get something positive that happened yesterday, and that would be Xander Bogaerts, who missed a 3-run homer by inches, but also made some very good defensive plays. How important is it how he is looking, and as he gets his timing back, coming back from that fractured foot?
Yeah, great point, Marty. And I think he's looked great, and he's made some incredible defensive plays out there, didn't he? I mean, he made that one where he's diving and tried the backhanded flip to second base. I'm like, Xander's looking fine.
Yeah.
The foot seems to be feeling okay. It's certainly not slowing down his first step anywhere. It's not affected his footwork. And in talking to Xander, I think you were there in the scrum the other day when he first came back, and he was asked what part of it was the last piece of the puzzle for you, and it was rounding bases. Basically, that was the last thing where he was still feeling a little bit of discomfort in that foot. So, but clearly from the defensive side, he's been amazing. The timing, the internal clock is there. The arm is there. We saw the great, quick reaction that he had the other day on a couple of those real nice plays. So, and then on the offensive side, to your point, just barely missed hitting a home run. He had a base hit, was turning on the fastball. That's always a good sign. You don't want to see guys late on the fastball. He was not late on fastballs yesterday. So the fastball timing is there. And usually when the fastball timing is there, your off-speed timing is going to be there eventually as well. So yeah, I think great news to see. All signs seem to be full steam ahead for Xander.
Speaking of hopeful, great news. Mike Schultz seemed optimistic that Tatis would be back tomorrow. Now, listen, when the Padres when we get to Petco Park tomorrow, everything could be locked up as far as, hosting wild cards. What the Cubs magic number is 2. They're playing like now, and then they play early tomorrow. So that might be out of it may not matter what the Padres do this weekend, but when you have Tatis, and Mike Schultz said, it sounds like flu-like symptoms, right? Nausea, chills, fever, all that stuff. Yeah. How concerning is it getting that strength back for Fernando come playoff time?
Well, there's time, right? I mean, as long as he's getting food back in his system, and I'm not that worried about that at this point. It's not as though he missed a week. He missed a couple of days. Is he feeling 100%? No, but as Mike mentioned, he probably could have even been activated yesterday. It sounded like they chose not to give him yesterday off, and also to give him the off day here, day off. So should be enough time for him to get back into shape, get get some food back in you, get some good sleep, get a couple of plate appearances, right, over this series against the Diamondbacks that's coming up, and hopefully be ready to go, because Fernando had been hitting 288 in the month of September, and obviously you want to have his presence on both sides of the ball.
Coming up later in today's show, for those of you watching, I am going to go ahead and tease an excerpt of my interview with AJ Preller. And the portion I'm going to play is about, AJ Preller's, about his future. He has 1 year left on his deal. But I did ask him a question in the interview later on, how he evaluates Fernando's season, right? Because there's been so much good there, right? It's going to be a high in games played, stolen bases, runs scored, hits, but also the lowest slug of his career. So Bob Scanlan, I will ask you that same question. How do you evaluate Fernando's season?
Wow, that's a great question. And I think, to your point, and as to AJ's point, a lot of positives here, primarily being on the field as consistently as he was. That being said, I think we're all surprised that there was such a long streak. I mean, he went over a month without hitting a home run, which is almost unfathomable, to think Fernando with a bat in his hand, something dynamic is going to happen at some point. That being said, we've started to see the power come back right now. So I guess, is it a Fernando-esque season? No, I think we all know that he can do more than what he did. I mean, and it's a fine season, right? By anybody's standards, it's not a bad year. But for the Fernando bar that we have,
it's so high.
Not what he's capable of doing. So I think you take the positives and say, hey, healthy for a full season, check. Still stealing bags, check. Playing an amazing right field. How many home runs did he steal this year? Maybe that makes sense because he didn't hit, right?
Oh my goodness.
So a lot of positives there. I think you just take those positives, carry it forward, and hopefully just write off that streak of not having the power there as an anomaly, and just say, okay, we got that behind us, and hopefully makes up for it in the postseason, right, Marty?
I hope so. I hope they get the best version of Fernando Tatis. By the way, speaking of some encouraging signs,
I'll be fascinated to watch your interview with AJ. You do a great job of interviews, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he has.
My favorite part of that interview, right? When I'm talking to him, and then Ruben Niebla walks by. He's like, "Hey, we've got to go. We need to talk about the rotation, right?" And so I'm going to ask you about the Padres rotation, because I would love to just witness a conversation, what they're thinking about, come this weekend. It's Yu Darvish is tomorrow, right? Michael King on Saturday. Here's what I know for the playoff, right? It's going to be Nick Pivetta on Tuesday. After that, then what? Like, what do you think that conversation is like with Niebla, with Schilt, with AJ Preller about who is your game 2 starter, especially if it ends up being a must-win game on Wednesday?
Yeah, great question, right? And I think the first thing that we can sort of all agree upon, hopefully, is that there's nothing black and white at this point other than Nick Pivetta going game number 1. And they are having the same discussions that you and I are having, and that everybody else is having at home, right? In front of the water cooler right now at work. I mean, I had this discussion with one of my cameramen yesterday before the game. We're getting ready to shoot the open, and he's like, who do you got for game 2 and game 3? And so we were debating it right there. So it's not like this is a black and white, easy decision for anybody. And I think there's a lot of things that come into play, right? First of all of these guys have had some good outings of late, and all of them have had some less than stellar outings. So I think what it comes down to is maybe evaluating, who's got the hot hand, who's been throwing the ball well of late, but also what kind of a lineup are you facing? And the Cubs lineup for me, just watching them previously in the year, right? And I have not been focusing on them lately, but they were one of the most disciplined offenses that we faced early in the season. I was really impressed, even with Nick Pivetta. Nick loves to throw that fastball up in the zone. He gets a lot of swings and misses on it. One of the things the Cubs did really effectively against him is not chase that fastball up in the zone. They forced the Padres that entire season to throw strikes. So if that's the case, I am more inclined to go with the guy that has the big stuff that can play in the zone, because I'm not going to get as much swing and miss and chase, from other guys that sort of live on the corners and get guys to go after stuff. And I put Yu Darvish in sort of that scenario. Yu is great at, going in the corners. He'll challenge you, but he also gets a lot of swing and miss out of the zone. I don't know if the Cubs will chase as much of his stuff. So I guess kind of where I'm going at it with, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Dylan Cease at this point because I know Dylan can throw 97. He's got that nasty slider. He can pitch in the zone and just flat out stuff, beat people with it. And I thought he looked really good in his last outing yesterday. He had great stuff. Did he have runners in scoring position each one of those innings? Yes. Ideal? No. Was he able to pitch through it against another team who's similar to the Cubs in that they don't chase a lot, they don't strike out a lot in the Milwaukee Brewers, and yet Dylan was still able to put together 8 punch-outs against them because the fastball was explosive, because the slider was filthy, because he was able to use that curveball effectively. He was able to throw some sweepers in the zone to then give his slider a little bit more breathing room. So it's going to be an interesting discussion that those guys are going to have, but come playoff time, and especially against a team that I feel like is very disciplined, I might lean towards Dylan Cease being that guy. But it is interesting, Marty, because we know how much great postseason experience Yu Darvish has. We know what Michael King can do when he's healthy, and I think his next outing is going to be crucial too on Saturday. How far do they let him go? Probably not that far if he's looking good and feeling sharp, right? Because now you can conceivably bring him back on Thursday on 4 days rest. You would be coming back on 5 days rest.
Okay.
Making the start on Friday. So these are all things that are going to be factored in, and I'm as curious as you are to see how this all plays out.
I'm just waiting for Schultz to announce Randy Vasquez as the game 2 starter based on how good he's been.
And I didn't mean to discount Randy because he's been fantastic. Was he as sharp against the Mets? No. He lasted 3 innings, and granted, Mike was being very aggressive with his bullpen, which is understandable. But in his last outing, as sharp as anyone, right? The good news is the Padres have a bunch of legitimate options that they can go with, and you can justify any of them, right? On the other hand, not one of them has been so locked down every single outing that you feel like, oh, yeah, that's for sure. We've got our top 3 guys, and we know we're going to do it. The other thing to keep in mind, Marty, and not as important for the Padres maybe as for other organizations, is that other teams would be looking at it also and say, okay, the other part of this is the guy that's not starting is going to go to the bullpen most likely. Who would make that transition? Who would be helpful for us out of the pen? If it's really, an up or down balance thing of who gets the start, well, maybe it's who's more effective for us coming out of the bullpen. Padres, fortunately, not in a situation where they're desperate for bullpen arms. I mean, you look at the Dodgers, for example, and they're trying to figure out any hand on deck, right? The Padres have such a good bullpen. That doesn't mean that you can't add depth to it and make it even better, but they're not in a desperado situation of, man, we need to, figure out an arm on the back end of that pen. Guys should be rested. We know they're dominant. It's been the strength of the team and should be in the postseason as well.
If the Padres have nothing to play for this weekend, would you be shocked if we see any of their high leverage bullpen arms come this weekend? I was actually surprised to see Morahone yesterday, given his very recent workload.
Well, there's still a lot on the line at this point. So I wasn't, and that is a discussion also. I mean, in terms of what kind of resources right now down the stretch do you throw at trying to, win the division, probably out of reach at this point. Still maybe get that last wild card spot at the top.
No, I'm sorry, Bob. I meant if they go to Petco tomorrow and the top wild seed's locked up by the Cubs, the Dodgers win the West, and you've got nothing. Right. If you're locked in as a 5 seed, then what do you do with your bullpen this weekend?
I focus on being ready for Tuesday, and I just march it back. Okay. How many days off do I want to have this guy? I don't want a guy sitting around for 5 days, for example. Maybe I give him a touchy feel. Okay, so I want everybody ready for Tuesday. I'm probably going to try to stay away. Maybe, for Sunday, Saturday, I might, certain guys, make sure that they get 15 pitches in or something, come into the ball game so that they're sharp mentally, physically still feeling it, right? So you still have that sense of, it's not the same throwing bullpens as it is being on that mound, and guys are in the routine. So you don't want too many days to go by, but I'm not going to let somebody sit out there for longer than 15 or 20 pitches or grind, if that makes sense. So we would have to work back and see when was the last time Robert threw, when was the last time Mason threw, and let's get them one outing between now and Tuesday and make sure that it's not stressful is probably the approach.
And by the way, the D-backs, I think, will have something to play for this weekend. Of all the teams who are kind of in there for that last wild card, I think the Diamondbacks are the last team that I'd want the Padres to face off. That's a scrappy team.
They are scrappy, and credit to them, right? They trade away some key pieces at the trade deadline, thinking that it's over, we don't have a chance, and it wasn't as though they were that far out at that point. And they had, I think, one of the most balanced offenses. Their bullpen was such a disaster that I think it was tough for their front office. I mean, you asked Torey Lovello, and he's like, we can do this. I don't want to dismantle this team. We're playing good. We've got a balanced offense, and front office did what it did. To their credit, they've continued to play great baseball, and they're scrappy. They're playing hard, and that's sort of one of the the dependable things about a Torey Lovello baseball team is they're always going to come at you and play some hard baseball. They're going to play the game properly. They're going to be scrappy, and every one of those guys understands who they are and what they need to do to win baseball games and be a part of the team that the team needs them to be. I feel like it's a very understanding and disciplined ball club in terms of their guys understanding their roles. Anyway, trade away all those guys, and here they are. So to your point, that they're going to be bringing it over this weekend, and I don't want to see them in the postseason. I wouldn't want to match up against that team because they play hard.
My last question for you, and I know it's been a while since you've seen him in person, but what's your scouting report on Shota Imanaga, and how tough is that matchup going to be for the Padres, assuming that's the guy?
Honestly, I don't. He's
okay.
Tough.
I'm sorry.
He's a good ball. He's a good pitcher, man. It's going to be tough, and I can't give you a real breakdown on that, Marty. Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I'll run you down hopefully next week. I'm not sure if I'll see you in Chicago or in San Diego, but I'll see you this weekend. So as we get closer, Bob Scanlan, I look forward to answering those questions to you. By the way, my nephew August is going to be so bummed that he missed the great Bob Scanlan for whatever reason. He's obsessed with Bob Scanlan, loves the hair, loves the suits, loves that voice, loves the name. Every time we meet a guy named Bob, he will ask, is this Bob Scanlan? I'm like, no, it's not Bob Scanlan. So one day we're going to make this meeting. We're going to make it happen.
I can't wait. I've been hearing about Augie for a long time. Augie, I can't wait to meet you, buddy. Your aunt does a great job with what she's doing, covering the Padres and everything. And it's always fun talking ball with her. So Augie, look forward to meeting you at the ballpark one of these days.
You're the best, Bob Scanlan. I really, really appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll see what the move is for Ramon Laureano and how the Padres respond.
Marty, always great talking ball with you. Keep up the great work.
Hey, enjoy your off day.
Thanks. You too.
All right, that was the great Bob Scanlan talking some ball, talking about the loss of Ramon Laureano, and talking about how the Padres could line up their rotation this weekend, and also versus the Cubs in Chicago. All right, guys, I teased this. So I had an interview yesterday with AJ Preller. We talked about a million things, postseason, 4 postseasons in 6 years, the first in Padres history. I asked about how he evaluates Tatis's season. And here's just a quick excerpt about his own future. AJ Preller, I believe, has one more year left on his deal. I think Mike Schilt has 2, but here's just a quick portion of AJ Preller. Every single year, that's always going to be your expectation. But how much pressure did you feel coming into the season that you needed to win the season?
I mean, every year, every year we feel a sense of responsibility, and you want to go, put a good product on the field and a team that can do something special. So, I don't think anything's really ever changed from 2015 and some of the rebuilding teams. You come in and, every year is super important and crucial to do what you set out to do as a baseball operations group and team. So, again, I think we've looked at it, every year as feeling like, look, we want to do everything we can to get our team better and put our organization in a better spot. I think from this year's standpoint, you always, at least I know personally from my standpoint, I always feel like a big sense of responsibility to the city of San Diego, the fan base, to do everything we can to help, to help put us in that spot. And it's fun. It's fun to win, So I think from that coming into this year, I don't think it was really any different, but that's because our bar is always at a pretty high level with our baseball group.
Padres are about to I think they've already set a new attendance record for this season, and you already mentioned, back-to-back trips to the postseason. By the way, congratulations! You finally broke the odd number curse 4 times in 6 seasons, and a lot of that success is about what the players that you've brought in. You have 1 year left on your deal, right, with the Padres on your contract?
I think focusing right now on the Brewers today and getting ready for the playoffs next year. So honestly, I'm probably guilty of not really knowing that all the time. So.
Okay, I looked it up before this interview. You have 1 year left on your deal. I'm not sure how unusual it is for a GM and also a manager to go into a lame duck season. Have you had any talks with this ownership group about your extension, about your situation?
Yeah, to me, again, it's not anything that, from my standpoint, it's the focus is all on the field, the team, the playoffs. It's a super important time, and again, like I think we're just really dialed into whoever we're going to play here next week, doing everything we can to to be ready from an advanced scouting standpoint, information standpoint for our player and team. And I love San Diego. I love this organization. It's been my life here, obviously now for more than a decade. Living here in San Diego, what we built as a group and organization, Eric, myself, the Seiler family. So again, like I think there'll be a time and a place for that, but right now it's all about on the field and trying to do everything we can to go win a World Series.
Okay, that was AJ Preller not answering my question as to whether or not he has had conversations with John Seiler with this new ownership group, the current ownership group, about his future. And there's more. I will drop the interview later on today. I think we talked about the relationship with John Seidler. Of course, you guys all know that AJ was so close to Peter. That was a special bond they have. And also expectations of Tatis and just, what's different about this postseason run. That will be later on. All right, real quick. Bob Scanlan talked about the idea that it could be Dylan Cease, the argument for Dylan Cease to start game 2 in Chicago. Here's a little bit from Dylan Cease, who I think has only allowed 1 run in 3 of his last 4 starts, which is a good sign for the Padres. Here's Dylan Cease yesterday talking about how he looks upon what's been a disappointing season for him. Sorry, here we go.
The runners in scoring position, which just seem to find themselves out there on a consistent basis, but did a really nice job at pitching around all that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, just attacking the zone, trying to make good pitches.
Seemed like it was fastball slider the dominant today, and then some curveballs and some sweepers as it went.
Yeah, mixed in, a lot of curveballs, good amount of sliders, a lot of fastballs, mixed in a couple of sinkers and maybe a couple of sweepers. But yeah, I mean, I tried to mix.
Do you feel about as good as you have all season in terms of having all the pitches working?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel like I'm getting my off speed in the zone really well, and I also feel like I'm getting my fastball to my lanes pretty well. So always room for improvement, but I like where I'm at.
Start of the year, how would you characterize and sum up your season?
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty down year, but I feel like I'm finishing pretty strong. I like where I'm at, and we're in it. That's all that really matters.
I feel like whatever has happened, you can change how you feel about this year based on what the postseason looks like.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to try to win a World Series. So if we do that, I'm going to feel very good about my year.
Sorry about that. That was Dylan Cease talking about how he's finishing strong, which is a good sign for the Padres. We'll see what happens, guys. All right, that's it for me today. You can look for my full interview with AJ Preller a little bit later on today here on this channel on Marty Time TV. I will also have a write-up on it for the Sporting Tribune. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. My goodness. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you. Tomorrow, I will have Tim Kirchin of ESPN talking more about the Padres and the playoff picture. Have a wonderful off day. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Thank you, Kenji Harima. I love you too. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. We're brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. I'm very grateful to them as well for their support during this baseball season. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, baby, it's all about San Diego, baby. We represent everybody, and we do it. They're in playoffs, we're in the postseason. It's a hell of a year for the San Diegos.
It's exactly what I envisioned. I knew the roster we had here. I know the will to win that's here from AJ, from the top, from Schilt, and this is why you play baseball right here, to pop champagne and celebrate.
Man, I love it, but the work's not over. We still got a long way to go. You play some playoffs doesn't mean you've done anything crazy.
Euphoria, it's awesome. I feel so great, but we're not done. It's just starting right now.
Motion, I mean, what do you think? I think it was just the inability to find the strike zone, to be honest with you. I had really tough You hate time the
uh,
media! But don't talk to him! Don't talk to him! But at the same time, I was able to make the pitches in the right count, and I had raw